Perfect. Thank you. Okay. And so before we get started, I would like to introduce Teresa M. Garcia. She is with SDSU. So if you please like to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Ivan. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. So great to see you all. I am Teresa Garcia. I am the Assistant Dean at the College of Engineering all the way down south in San Diego at San Diego State University. So I'm reconnecting with our Femineer program here and oversee what we do here in the San Diego area. Again, so glad to see you all. And thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you. So welcome to our Cal Poly Pomona CPP SDSU Femineer Collab and Blab for students. I'm Ivan Camacho, a Cal Poly Pomona student currently studying industrial engineering as a third year, and I work for the CPP Women in Science and Engineering program and outreach office. We're delighted that you guys are here joining us today. So for today's virtual Collab and Blab, we're going to provide you guys with the opportunity for students to connect with industry professionals and engineering students from a variety of fields. So today's industry guests will share a little about themselves, tell us how they got started in the industry, and offer some advice for achieving success as a student in STEM, and as well as transitioning as a college student into the industry. So for today's featured speakers are going to go ahead and be Holly Hennett from Tesla. She works in the supercharger division, as well as Zoe Nyberg for mechanical engineering major at Cal Poly Pomona. Myself, Ivan Camacho, I'm currently studying industrial engineering, as I mentioned, and also Brianna Arguenta, who is studying electromechanical engineering technology major, so otherwise known as electromechanical systems engineering as well. So each speaker will give a brief introduction about themselves, and then we'll have a question and answer period. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead, you guys, you can just go ahead and write them down and make sure you guys keep on holding on to them until we get to the question and answer period. So you guys can go ahead and ask all your questions. So you can also answer the questions into the chat box as well if you think of them. And then once we get to the part of the portion where we answer them, we'll go ahead and read them off. Another way you can communicate to us that you have a question is you can raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead and call on you and you can go ahead and ask your question. So again, welcome and thank you guys for joining us today. So now if I could just go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our first speaker. So if I could have our first speaker, Holly Hennett from Tesla, go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, Ivan, is my audio okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. Hi, everyone, I'm Holly. I'll give you, I guess, a quick overview of how I got into engineering and how I ended up at Tesla. So when I was in school, I was actually I really struggled with math a lot. It was definitely not a strong subject for me. I remember I couldn't finish my times tables. I got stuck on my 6s when my whole class was already finished with 12s, and then I switched schools and never learned them. So that kind of was unfortunate for my math career from there on. I really struggled with it until I had a really good teacher in high school, actually, who was a woman, and she just, for whatever reason, she just like really made sense to me, and she helped me get up to speed. And all of a sudden I went from, really struggling with this topic and to becoming one of the best people in the class, like having some of the best test scores, just because one teacher gave me some confidence. And I didn't really have any other subjects in school that I was really passionate about. So I was so excited to finally just be good at something that I'd struggled with for so long. And it wasn't just easy from there on. It was just, I knew that I could do it after that point. So I really fell in love with problem solving, not necessarily math. And
getting ready. No, that's if we have getting ready.
And one teacher in high school, we were doing a problem one day, and he said, engineers make a lot of money doing what we're doing right now, and you guys are learning it in high school. And that was the first time I'd ever heard about engineering, and that's how I decided to go into it in college. And it wasn't, it was still challenging but rewarding, and I just always reminded myself how much I loved to solve problems. And now I am at Tesla solving problems every day. So I work on the supercharger team. So Tesla's, we make electric vehicles, as most of you probably know, but you can't go to a normal gas station. You have to charge them with electricity. So my team basically goes out and builds all the superchargers. And I have a little example. This is what they look like. They're much taller in real life. They're about probably the height of me. And they have like a little cable that comes down here, and that's what you plug into the car. So I help the teams out in the field install these, and I help improve these products every day and work with engineers. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I always love hearing about Tesla. It's always fun. All right, so our next guest speaker is going to go ahead and be Zoe. Her major is mechanical engineering. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys. So like it said, my name is Zoe Nyberg. I am a third-year mechanical engineering student at Cal Poly Pomona. A bit of how I got started in engineering is my dad actually was an engineer. He worked at a biomechanical industry. And I remember when I was a kid, he brought back one of these robot arms, one of the like plant arms, which was super cool. And he let me actually play with it. And I was like, that's super awesome. I want to be that. And it kind of kept building past that. In middle school, we did all the career fairs. So I actually started to research what I wanted to be. I did a presentation on electrical engineering, which is what I thought I wanted to do. I don't really enjoy electrical engineering as much now. And then in high school, I actually was given the opportunity to take some design classes, as well as like coding classes and game design. And those were some things that I found were really awesome. I loved the design aspect. So being able to look at like specifications and then come up with what we needed to make. So I did some 3D printing. And then I decided I wanted to go to Cal Poly Pomona. Mechanical engineering, I wanted to know more about like how things worked. And I have some really awesome classes that I'm taking. I'm part of some amazing clubs like the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. I was a part of the robotics club on campus. And of course, I work for CPP Women in Science and Engineering as a student assistant, which gives me some really awesome opportunities to help out with women's engagement in STEM. That's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great. All right, so our next speaker is going to go ahead and be Brianna, and her major is electromechanical engineering technologies.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is Brianna Argueta, and I am a second year here at Cal Poly Pomona. Fun fact, I was actually a Femineer. So if you're a Femineer right now, I was exactly in your shoes. I went through about almost all 3 years of the curriculum, and I loved it. I started with Femineers my sophomore year, but I've always had a love for science and like taking things apart to see how they work. So Femineers guided me towards engineering, and I loved it. I was hooked, especially from the first project, the hummingbird and the creative kits. I just loved it so much. And from there, I just kind of kept going with it and kept rolling with it, and just I continued to immerse myself in engineering and just learning more about what it was and what it means to be an engineer, and just learning the design process and seeing the project come from like a drawing or just an idea of a conversation to actually seeing it in person and in real life just continues to amaze me every single day. And then I applied to Cal Poly Pomona because I knew I was a Femineer and that I might get in. So I was really excited because I really loved campus and I thought it was really beautiful here, and it's very green and just, I love it here. So I got in. So now I'm here, electromechanical engineer, Latina. And I'm so thankful for the opportunity to work with the WISE program because it gives me the opportunity to reach out to the rest of the Femineer, just coming up to the ranks and still looking at where you want to go STEM wise, and Femineers rock. But yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bree. That's awesome. We love your energy. Thank you.
So our next speaker is Ivan Camacha, who is our moderator. He is an industrial engineering major. So Ivan.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for having me today. My name is Ivan Camacho. I also attend Cal Poly Pomona, and my major is industrial engineering. So fun fact actually is I started off my career at Cal Poly as a mechanical engineering major. But I ended up switching over to industrial. But before I go into that, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of background about myself as to like why I decided to go into engineering. So much like you guys, I was part of a program. It wasn't Femineers, but it was called Project Lead the Way. And it's an engineering program that they had implemented in different high schools and middle schools. And it just so happened that my middle school and my high school both got selected to take part of this program. So they began to offer Project Lead the Way classes, which was just like an introductory course to engineering courses. And so I ended up taking a leap and I decided to join. So I started off as an after school program in middle school, and I joined because I had one of my teachers during middle school. Her name is Miss Kelly Garcia. She's a really great science teacher, but I had her for my middle school. I had her for 7th and 8th grade. And she also so happened to be the teacher that taught the Project Lead the Way program. So I decided to join, and honestly, I just really fell in love with engineering. It was my first time really getting introduced to what it was. Before that, I wasn't really sure what engineering was. It was kind of very scary because, like, think of an engineer and you think like, oh man, like they're doing like real things in the real world, So like as a middle schooler, it's kind of overwhelming to think of, what do I want to do when I grow up? But after I got to learn a little bit more about what engineering is and what it goes into being an engineer and the different types of engineering that there is, I decided, hey, you know what, this is definitely something that I want to look into. And so once I got into high school, I kept on going with the Project Lead the Way program and decided it was the right place for me to be at. I enjoyed all the projects that we were doing, learning about different ecosystems, learning how to build using programs on the computer such as AutoCAD or Autodesk in order to create programs and create like fake houses and all that. So it was a really great time. We had a bunch of projects, and I just really enjoyed being able to express myself and really feel like I'm solving problems and being an engineer, even though I was still in high school and middle school. So that's how I decided to go into engineering. And so when I first started off, I personally I love to work on cars. I like to take things apart. I like to see how they work. I love to just get dirty, I guess. So I thought, hey, you know what? Let me join mechanical engineering. Like it's gonna be perfect. Like mechanical engineering, mechanics. I thought, hey, that's the same thing. Like that's exactly what I'm gonna be able to do. So I went in, and it turns out mechanical engineering isn't exactly being a mechanic. So instead of actually fixing the cars as a mechanical engineer, you're actually building the cars. You're coming up with the engine components. You're coming up with all the things that are gonna make the car work, rather than actually working on the car. So I ended up deciding to switch over to industrial engineering, and now I am a lot happier, more focused on my coursework, and I just feel like less stressed because when I was kind of in the mechanical engineering major, I did like it, but there was some aspects of it that they didn't go with what I wanted to do. So it made it a bit more difficult to get through those difficult classes. So now that I'm in a major that I really enjoy and that I really like, I'm happy, and I think it's a great way. So if you guys are ever interested in engineering, make sure you guys just look into it, research, and then don't ever be afraid to switch up what you're doing if you find out you don't like it. But that'll be all. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, or if you would like, you can type your questions in the chat. So we'll give you a little bit of time to do that, but I will let Ivan go ahead and ask our speakers the first question that we have.
Thank you. All right, so the first question that we have, and I know a couple of us touched on it a little bit, is going to be, what inspired you to become an engineer? And then this is open to any of our speakers, so any of you guys can take it first.
I can expand a bit about what I talked about before. when my dad brought home like those mechanical arms and stuff, I thought they were cool. But I really didn't have, like, I know Ivan and Brianna talked about like the Femineer programs or Project Lead the Way. I really didn't have a lot of those in my high school. I went to a really, really small school. So we didn't have any engineering classes. There's exactly like one physics class and like a couple math classes, but it was more of an art school. So I didn't have a lot of those engineering aspects. It was mainly some of those design classes. And my like impact of people outside of that. So I got to like visit my dad at work before, and being able to like tour the place, talk to the other engineers was really, really cool. And then being able to research into like actually what engineering was made me think like, hey, that's probably something I would like. And so I kind of took like a leap to choose it as my major. And luckily I really do like it. But yeah, that's a little bit about what inspired me. If Holly or
Awesome. Thank you so much. Would anybody else like to add to the question? If not, we can, oh, go ahead.
I'll let Holly add first. She unmuted herself first.
Okay, so I touched on it a little bit, that a teacher had, I got so excited about all of a sudden being good at math, and the teacher basically said engineers can make a lot of money doing this, and I didn't really know what else I wanted to do. So that was my first moment, my first thought that I should try engineering. But it wasn't, I feel like a lot of people act like you have this epiphany and all of a sudden you're like, yes, I want to be an engineer, and you never look back. But there were doubts for several years. I mean, there were still times when I thought, is this still what I really want to do? But I just kept pushing through because I thought, well, you know, even if I get this degree and decide I don't want to do it, it's still a good foundation to have. So I don't think I was super confident that I even wanted to be an engineer until I finally was one, and I got a job as it. And once I was actually in the real world as an engineer, I was like, okay, yeah, I do like this. I want to keep engineer.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Brianna.
I'll just add really quickly. The Femineer program did have a very big impact on me. I spent a lot of time with my engineering teacher that was in charge of it, Miss Hill. Some of you know her. She was an amazing mentor, and she still continues to kind of mentor me today. And it was just kind of the idea of seeing, I mentioned it before, but seeing something you thought of become a reality and to be able to physically see it and hold it and see it work.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Great answers from everybody. So we do actually have a question from one of our members, from Dulce, that asked, did you ever worry that the path that you were taking was not going to take you far in life? It's a really good question. Would anybody like to start off with answering that question? If not, I mean, I can start off. So as I mentioned, I did have a major change. So I did I went through my first, I want to say 2 years at Cal Poly as a mechanical engineering major until I decided, hey, you know what, this might not actually be for me. And so there was kind of like, I'm not gonna lie, when I was going through those classes and I was realizing, hey, you know what, like maybe these classes aren't for me, I did kind of think, and I put it into my head like, hey, you know, maybe being in college isn't for me, or maybe, you know, doing this isn't for me. And it really did kind of like mess with me and kind of like put it in my head like, hey, you know, like you get that sense of imposter syndrome. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it, but you guys most likely will. It's kind of like where sometimes you feel like you don't belong. And so like, as I realized, you know, I was going through these classes and they were getting difficult. And I was just kind of like starting to have like a harder time in college. I started to have that imposter syndrome kick in, and I was just asking myself like, yo, do I really belong here? And honestly, I just got to say, like, something that I told myself was, you know, I do belong here. And something that my mom told me too was like, hey, you know, if you're in college, you're there for a reason. And, you know, if you're there for 2-3 years, like the fact that you've made it that far means that you're there for a reason. Like you shouldn't put it in your head that you don't belong there, because you belong exactly wherever it is that you want to be, as long as you put your mind to it. So that's really one thing that helped me out, was really just keep me on focus, was the fact that, my mom believed in me, and just having people around you that believe in you, and just seeing that you're doing it, seeing that you're doing things that you thought maybe weren't going to be done before. It's just a great way to just keep you motivated and keep you on that right path. Because yeah, you're always going to have fear that you might not be on the right path, but you got to just trust in it that you're doing the right thing, and you're doing something that's going to improve yourself, your life, and your family's life. So that's something that I have felt like, where I do fear sometimes I'm going on the wrong path, but I always know that as long as you're making progress towards something better, you're doing things right. We also have
Also,
oh,
oh,
go ahead.
I just was gonna add to what you said, the fact that you switched majors. You don't, I didn't switch. I picked electrical and then stayed with electrical engineering once I chose that. But I've changed jobs 3 times since I graduated. So there's not a straight path. I think I used to definitely have similar fears that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't gonna be a good engineer. But there's so many opportunities out there. And if you don't love something, you can do it for a year or two and then try something else. That's the great thing about these kind of engineering related fields, is there's just so many different types of jobs out there that you will find something you like.
Awesome, thank you. That's a really great point to bring up too. Yeah, that is true. There's plenty of jobs. If you don't like something, give it a shot, and after that, you just go ahead and move on and try it until you find something that you do like. So we do have another question in the chat from Eleni that says, "Did you guys ever have a breaking point through your journey to being an engineer? If so, did you feel stressed or felt like giving up?"
I can elaborate a little on this one. So hi, I've been, as you know, we've been online for first couple of years, and how Ivan and our other guest speaker Holly mentioned, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. So I felt like an imposter here at Cal Poly Pomona, even though I'm now on campus. Just being in engineering can be challenging sometimes, and sometimes you have very rigorous courses, but I like to think of my struggle this way. You've survived your worst days. So you may be struggling right now and you maybe want to like cry, go eat some ice cream, go do something to make you happy, but it's eventually going to be okay. It's a situation right now, but you're going to learn from the situation. And afterwards, you're going to be able to use your knowledge and apply it to future situations so that you can move forward and not be affected as much, or learn how to maneuver the situation so that you come out better from it.
Definitely. One specific point for me is during one of my starting years, I failed my first test. And in high school, I was a pretty like straight A student. I never failed a test, and I failed my first one in college with some like hard class, and that really made me feel like crying because I was like, oh my gosh, I failed. I'm never going to be an engineer now. But what I did is I went home and I got some like McDonald's. I really love like McDonald's French fries. And then I studied extra hard like for the next one. A lot of classes super curved, right? Just one test, failing one test or failing like 2 tests. It's not going to be the end of your career. You can always learn from it and keep going, right? It's not just like a straight path.
Awesome, thank you. I can go ahead and add on to that question a little bit too. I think for me, I think it definitely like in college, you definitely experience a couple of times where like you're at a breaking point, or like you feel like what they call burnout. So it's kind of like when you've just been like studying and going to all your classes and all that, and it's just like a continuous cycle. It feels like it's just going over and over. But you get tired of it. You get tired of going to school every day, going to class. It is tiring. But I think one of the ways that you kind of like you keep yourself going is just knowing that like you're doing like you're getting all your stuff accomplished. You're doing something great, so you want to make sure that even though yes, it is stressful, you wanna know that there's a reward at the end of it. So that's one of the ways to just keep yourself motivated. So we have another question from ECs. What would you be if you weren't an engineer? Oh, I think I can go ahead and answer that one. If you guys don't mind, I'll start off. So for me personally, if I wasn't an engineer, I would have loved to gone into like a business major. I really like eventually when I graduate, my hope is to hopefully be an entrepreneur and have my own business. Of course, I do want to be an engineer, but I would like to open up my own engineering company once I graduate and once I have a little bit more experience. That's my dream. So if I wasn't going to be an engineer, I would love to be an entrepreneur.
For me, education is something I really like. I do some like K through 12 education with CPP wise. Obviously, we help run like the day camps and stuff like that. I also have another job where I actually teach game design and coding to K through 12 students, specifically how to design Roblox games, which is super interesting. And it's great to see like what you guys come up with when you're given like the tools to be able to design your own Roblox games. I teach like Minecraft modding. All of that stuff is super fun. So if I wasn't an engineer, if I didn't love it so much, I would definitely like to do education.
I don't know what I'd be.
Um,
I've always loved science, so maybe I'd go into something in science, or maybe something in history, or I'm not sure, maybe building movie sets. I think that would be very interesting just to be able to see the mechanics of it. It's still kind of engineering, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you. So we do have another question. This question is for Holly. Do you think you would still have the job you have now if you didn't go to college?
I don't think so. My team, when I was hired to this role, was specifically looking for someone with an engineering background, especially electrical engineering. There are some people that have great jobs at Tesla that did not start as an engineer. They maybe even didn't go to college. But those people, what you have to understand, are so much older. So it took them a much longer time because they had to go work maybe at a Tesla service center for a while and become a manager and then get noticed by like the manufacturing team and then work there until they became more of a technical role. So it took them several more years than it took me. So especially an engineering degree, but going to college in general is almost like a shortcut. It's like you work really hard for a few years and then it allows you to kind of jump ahead in the career ladder. And yeah, it's absolutely worth it.
So Holly, would you say that that's kind of like going to college and getting a degree is kind of like an advantage that you'd have over others in that technical, like for your field?
Absolutely. And it also, I see there was a similar question about income, and having an engineering degree is automatically going to put you at a higher income bracket. So I think is a very good investment because I was able to pay off my college loans very quickly with this in this field.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we do have another question. Did you ever have any second thoughts towards becoming an engineer?
I feel like that question has many different answers because it's a different challenge every day with engineering. And with all your classes, it's a different challenge for each set of class. There's different sections and everything. So sometimes you're going to have a really good day and you're going to understand everything in all of your classes and you're going to see how everything works. The next day, you might have trouble with the topic and you might be questioning, why am I in engineering? I don't understand this. But you need to understand that you may not understand it now, but you'll understand it later down the line. And don't force yourself into like a negative point of view in your head because you might not understand one thing. It's a continuous process of learning, which I personally, I think engineering is just continuous learning throughout life, which makes it more interesting because you have a different challenge every day. So that's my response.
No, I 100% agree with you. I like how you said that, you know, it's not a steady line. Being an engineer or going to college, really doing anything in life is not, it's never going to be just a straight line. It's never easy. You know, it has its ups and downs. Some days you feel like you're on top of the world, and other days you feel like, hey, you know what? Am I really doing this? Am I doing this okay? Am I doing right? You know, but you just got to keep on pushing and just know that, you know, being an engineer or becoming an engineer, it is difficult. You know, not everybody is gonna, you know, be able to do it, but that's fine because the reward afterwards, the reward at the end is going to be what's worth it. So you just got to keep motivated and just keep pushing yourself to get through it. So we have another question. What are some stress relief tips for us that you have all used? So for me personally, I would definitely recommend kind of like choosing, getting like a hobby or something that you like to do, and just have that ready for like whenever it is that you need to de-stress, have like a hobby that you can take a part of. So me personally, I like to work out and I love listening to music. So whenever I'm stressed out, I always kind of make some time at the end of my day or at the beginning of my day to just go to the gym, work out, you know, run, get the Stairmaster in, lift some weights, and just listen to music. You know, it's that time I get that little time to myself and I get to just think, and just really just focus on lifting weights, focus on anything other than school, other than work, you know, just really get to clear my mind. So I think that having something where you can just not be focused on school, it's going to be really great to just relieve some stress.
I have similar stress relieving tips. I make it a priority to exercise first thing in the morning because I just feel so much better and more energy after that. And it's almost it feels like so accomplished. I already did one good thing for the day. And also, if I'm just stressed in the moment, sometimes I'll go make cookies. That's like a weirdly stress relieving thing for me at the end of the day. Or I'll go, since I'm working from home so much, I'll go cuddle with my dog for 5 minutes and then go back to my computer still and keep working.
I get the baking. I use baking as a stress relief tool, especially I don't really have much of a kitchen now, but when I was living at home during online school, I would bake so many sweets, and then my family didn't want all of them, so I would give them to all of my neighbors. So I made a bunch of cookies. I got pretty good at baking. I used to make like a bunch of birthday cakes for everyone. Now I like to like find new things to do. So I like to travel to try different foods. So like live near LA, so I drive to LA and I find somewhere new that I haven't eaten. Or I find something on campus to participate in, especially now that like events are coming back. When I lived on campus, I did every single event that I could because it's just like kind of being social and interacting with people, and then having like the chance to, again, not focus on school, focus on something else, as well as like helping build like on campus some awesome stuff. So like the Women's Resource Center, Valentine's Day.
I'll just say very quickly, for my de-stressing, I sit with my dog, I listen to my records, or I watch one of my comfort TV shows. That's what I do. Just rewatch episodes. It's a very comforting thing.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, guys. So honestly, just one of the biggest things for stress reliever is just find something that kind of distracts you. Find something that takes you away from whatever is stressing you out, and just enjoy it. You know, enjoy that moment, and just kind of get school out of your head or work, whatever it is. So we do have another question. This one is from a student named Ismael. So the question is for Holly. What exactly do you work on at Tesla as an engineer?
Great question. I actually have an example right here of something I helped design. So I just realized I'm parked outside, so I'm going to show you. So I talked about how I help design our superchargers, and one problem that the handle for the superchargers is too tall for people in wheelchairs, sometimes, depending on their abilities and how long their arms are. So I'll show you what a handle kind of looks like. Let's see. Okay, I don't have the key to unlock it, but you can see this is what we plug into the car. And it's usually before you plug it into a car, it's up at on a supercharger stand, and it'll be docked up here, and you have to unplug it and plug it into your car. And sometimes that's too tall. So we designed this handle right here that basically, I don't know if I can do this with one arm, but here, it basically clips on a lower point on the handle, so that someone with disabilities can reach the cable at a lower point and then plug it into their car. So I worked with the engineering teams to design this and make sure the executives all approved of it. And then we ordered them from a vendor and shipped them out to a bunch of sites and installed them all over California, especially.
Wow, thank you so much. I know all the comments are saying awesome, thank you, amazing. That's a cool idea. Really cool. Thanks. Wow, that's really cool. Honestly, thank you for showing us. That's really cool. Just seeing it in person in time. This is dope. I don't know. Me in college, I never got to speak to many engineers. So getting to speak to an engineer and seeing what you do for work and getting to see a real life example is awesome. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so then I guess we can go ahead and ask another one of our questions. So what clubs and extracurricular activities were beneficial to you in college?
I can go. Part of my distressing activity, right, was to be involved on campus. That means I've joined a lot of clubs. The ASME or whatever, so ASME stands for American Society of Mechanical Engineers, and there are similar organizations for basically every branch of engineering. So those organizations that'll help you, they have game nights and stuff like that. They also do tours, so they bring in industry members like Holly or from different companies to come and actually talk to you, or you get to go and tour different plants around us. So that's definitely some really great involvement. There's also the Society of Women Engineers. They do some really cool stuff. I got to go to Indianapolis for a Women in Engineering conference and get to talk to a bunch of fun people. I got to do some awesome networking, got to tour some more plants. Just for fun, I like to join robotics clubs. So robotics club, we work in teams to come up with different designs. So I worked on the hot dog bot, which was a little robot that could cook hot dogs, which is some groundbreaking technology there. And then I also joined Board Game Club. So that's an actual club on campus too. It's board games. So you just join up once a week and you get to play. They have a ton of games where you can bring your own and teach some more people. So that is another great one to get involved with.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I can answer too. I've actually joined a couple of clubs on campus as well. So I joined the society as well. So when you go to college, there's also you have your clubs, and then you also kind of have societies usually. And a society could be for let's say different types of engineering societies. So it's for the certain industry or certain major. So right now I'm part of IISC, which is the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineering for the Cal Poly Pomona chapter. So I'm actually their webmaster. So I'm in charge of their Instagram platform and stuff like that. But basically we just put on different events and different networks for systems and industrial engineering majors. And it's a really great way to just network and really get to know other people that are in your majors. It's a great way to talk to other people. Also a great way to network with your professors and get to know them as well. Because when you're in college, you know, the people that you know and the connections that you build are really going to help you when you get out of college and you're trying to look for a job. You know, with all that experience and all those people that you know, you're more likely to find a job. So you really take advantage of that, of the clubs that you have on campus to help you really get to know other people. And then I do see that we have another question right here. It says, what advice do you have for middle school students to help them now so that they get the opportunities to go to college? I would say some advice that I have is start to look into, you know, what you want to do or what you would like to study once you go into high school and in college, because in high school, it's going to be really important for you to focus on making sure you guys get the right grades that you guys want so you guys can get into the schools that you guys want. So make sure you guys, I would say one piece of advice is just to start to look into what it is that you might want to do. But you don't have to know for sure exactly, okay, yes, I want to be an engineer and I want to do this. You don't have to know that, but as long as you have an idea of what it is that you want to apply for when you start to apply for schools and once you start to apply for colleges in high school, it's a really great way of just getting that advantage. I know Brianna has something she'd like to say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand, but
Go ahead.
I'll mention this. Sorry to cut you off. I'll mention this. I was a part of a program in middle school called CAPS, and I did do a lot of different leadership opportunities there. Something that they had us do that I think was really helpful was creating kind of like a vision board, but what you want to do for your next 10 years. And like high school and middle school are the perfect time to start joining clubs and try different activities and try all these different things, because you have the time right now and the forgiveness to like try things and not like it and then leave. and that's a really good freedom to have, and it gives you the things to it gives you the time to dedicate more time to what you want to do and finding kind of like what you like to do and everything. So definitely, if you can, like kind of make an idea, like I like these schools, I like these potential things, and just kind of test the waters.
Awesome, thank you. And then we do have another question from Eleni. Are there any other colleges that have engineering programs and majors? So yes, there is quite a couple of colleges. It's not just Cal Poly Pomona, it's not just San Diego State. There's multiple colleges all throughout, not just California, but all throughout California, the state of the United States as well. So if you just look up different colleges, you can see which ones offer different engineering programs. You know, we do have Google now, so it makes it a lot more easier to just look up things. So you can always find out. You can look for, like, let's say there's a certain college that you want to go to. You can look up to see what kind of majors they have and if they offer engineering and stuff like that. Because some colleges, they do offer different types of engineering. So there might be an engineering program that Cal Poly offers that maybe another school doesn't offer, and vice versa. So that's why it's always a good thing to just do your research on the school that you plan to go to and figure out what kind of programs they offer. But I will say this, and I am a little biased, Cal Poly is definitely one of the best ones for engineering.
Teresa, did you have anything you wanted to share about SDSU's engineering program?
Sure, but as I was typing in the chat, Ivan said what I was typing, that there are many universities and colleges that have engineering programs. Not all of them are the same. And so as I was typing, he said that. So definitely make sure if you want to do chemical engineering, you're not coming to San Diego State because we don't have that, but you look for the school that has that. So thank you, Ivan, for saying that. At SDSU, oh my gosh, SDSU, I think I disagree with Ivan. I think SDSU has the best programs, but nonetheless, as you can see, we work together. And I want to share that our students, like the students you're hearing from today, they're very active, they're very passionate. We have some of the activities that they can get involved in. Some of the clubs are race teams. We have an electric race car, we have a regular formula race car, and we have our Baja car. We have Rocket Project. And I mean, so there are so many fun things that you can do if you are doing your schoolwork and, you know, doing what you're supposed to be doing so that you can do what you want to do. So I think SCSU has some great programs. We have great students and faculty. But the same could be said for many universities and colleges. I'm biased. I would love to have you all come to San Diego and learn engineering here. But just that you are interested, just that you are here today spending your time with us, I think is phenomenal. So anywhere you decide to go, just make the best of it. Thanks, Nicole.
It looks like we have one more question in the chat, and we probably have maybe one more question after this, and then we'll have to be wrapping up. But we have a question. How many years did it take to become an engineer? And was the journey worth it?
Well, since I am officially an engineer now, it took me 6 years. I actually started at a small school called Azusa Pacific University as a kind of pre-engineering physics major, and then decided to transfer to Cal Poly Pomona. So it probably would have taken a little less if I didn't transfer, but I made the most of it. I did not take summer school because I knew how important internships were. And it was absolutely worth it. I'm actually glad it took 6 years because I was able to get more internship and job opportunities while I was in school. So I was able to kind of lighten my class load a little bit and take a part-time internship. And I was also able to take a full-time internship over the summer. And that's what those opportunities are what helped me understand what type of company I really wanted to work for when I graduated. And they also prepared me for being an engineer and helped me get the jobs that I got. And so yeah, absolutely worth it. it was tough, but I am so happy to have stuck with it and ended up where I am.
All righty. Does anybody have any last minute questions, or do any of our speakers have any last minute advice to our students that are with us today?
I think there's one more question, Nicole.
All righty. Well, if there is no other questions, Ivan, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask from our speakers?
Yeah, they typed in the chat, said, what is your favorite part of being an engineer? For anyone to answer from Eleni. I think for me, the one thing I really love about studying engineering is really the fact that you never stop learning. As an engineer, you're really always learning, and you're always learning whether it's something new about yourself or something new about what it is that you're doing. I think it's just always a continuous process of learning and problem solving. So that's one of the things that I love about engineering, is that there's always going to be something to solve, but it's worthwhile. Like, you feel there's a great sense of accomplishment when you solve that problem that you're going after. So that's something I love about engineering.
So I think I've been an engineer for 6 years now. And I'm still learning, and it's so fun. I constantly am learning new things, even though I haven't been in school for 6 years. And I mentioned this earlier, but my favorite thing is just solving problems. It is just so exciting to have a problem in front of you and fix it, and then finish and see the work that you did and say, yeah, I did that. That's just the best feeling.
as a starting not official engineer, but a pre-official engineer. Uh, it kind of always comes down to the design process for me. I love being able to like imagine something or just the conversation or just the idea and be able to go through the whole process of creating it and seeing it actually work. I just think, as I've reiterated, I think that's just it holds some kind of magic to it, especially the first time you actually get it to work and it works how it's supposed to.
Along all the same lines, I just like to see how things work. And if I can make things that work, that would be awesome.
All righty, thank you. Thank you to all of our attendees. Again, we also invite you to sign up to be a part of future Collab and Blabs, where we'll have different speakers and you'll get an opportunity to ask more questions. I love all the questions today, so thank you for that. A special thank you to our guest speakers today, Holly, Ivan, Brianna, and Zoe, and Teresa for being able to be a part of our event today. So thank you very much. We know that all of your time is very valuable. We truly appreciate all of the students and teachers today showing up and being here today and being able to bring this opportunity for their students. So this ends our Femineer Collab and Blab. We hope you have a wonderful afternoon and a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you, everyone. Bye.